Hello, everybody, and welcome again to TableTakes. Today is October 2nd, the second day into spooky, scary monthkins. Now let's go ahead and talk about. Hey, Jason, you're back here today. How have you been?
I've been good. Hi, guys. It's so good to be back. I love being on the show.
We love having you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, my week was pretty good. I took on another D&D campaign.
Ooh.
I guess it's my third now. I'm DMing, of course. We're running through the Tales of the Undead portal, so a module, so I have to do less work. But I mean, it's kind of expensive because I have to go like get modules and PDFs and all that stuff because we're all playing online in Tabletop Simulator. But I'm excited to start a new campaign. It's always super fun to start a new one.
Nice.
Oh yeah, no, that's really, really cool. That's yeah, especially because now it's a little bit easier because it's a module for you.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to be like your third. Is it just your third one within this month, or not this month because it's the beginning of the month? But
There.
It's my third one that I'm doing regularly. So I have two campaigns that I'm already running like pretty much every week, and this is my third. So
Wow. Nice.
ooh, exciting!
I like
Just
to
more
stay
and more,
busy.
just gotta stay busy. I mean, what
Right.
are you gonna do? Everybody's getting COVID. Everybody, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Everybody's getting it.
Yeah. Well,
So smooth.
everyone
so
who's not,
smooth.
taking the proper procedures and the proper precautions.
Yeah. Stay
Turns
safe
out
out
science
there, you
works.
guys.
Who knew?
Mm-hmm. Emma, what about you? What have you been doing this weekend?
I forgot to write it down, but still working through Hades, slowly but surely. It just keeps going. I mean, there's just stuff there and I can't really talk about too much of it too, because I don't want to give any spoilers, but we're working on those relationships. Nothing has come to pass. Everyone is so emo, though. I think I can say that without spoiling. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we're separated in the afterlife and we can like never be together, and it's really sad.
How is it a spoiler that everybody's really sexy and you can smooch them?
Oh, that's
How is that?
I don't know yet. We haven't smooched anyone yet, so.
Oh, okay.
Well,
let me know when you can start smooching people, because I have a list.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I definitely have my breakdown, of the most smoochable people in the game.
That'd be next week's highlight.
Yeah.
Great. This is who I smooch.
The smooch chart, the data analysis. Other thing I've been up to, although we've fallen a little bit behind, is we're actually talking about Halloween movies before the show started. I don't know if Isabella wants to talk more about that because she has awesome recommendations. But I'm actually still working through the MCU movies. So started at the beginning, the actual beginning. So we didn't watch Incredible Hulk because that one doesn't count.
Right,
Sorry.
yeah.
But started with Captain America First Avenger, I think it is, because there's definitely different orders that you can go into. But that was
because you're watching them in chronological. Right. Yeah.
Mostly because we skip, like, there's the chronological and then there's the vibe factor, because Captain Marvel technically comes, I think, right after Captain America, but we're saving that for later because it just doesn't feel like it fits, and then she's not really referenced for a while, so it's a little weird how everything fits in. We just gotten to Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier we watched right before that, so
nice.
It's just...
Do you have a favorite one?
It's really hard to say, especially rewatching them, because there was a lot that I brushed off the first time through, like Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World. I remember those being really bad, but rewatching them, like, there's actually some very relevant stuff here, and I like this movie a lot better watching it the second time through. So they definitely all have their pros and some cons, but it's the perfect popcorn thing, and you notice all these things you didn't notice the first time through, and you're pulling all the threads together, so it's been pretty do recommend. And most of them are on Disney Plus too.
Yeah there's some really big MCU news actually this week, which is that they casted Ms. Marvel, the first Muslim female superhero, is coming to theaters. It's very exciting news. Congratulations. I forget the name of the actress, but this is huge news, and it's going to do just so good for like the kids and Muslim kids and kids of all backgrounds and people of all backgrounds to be able to
It's
see.
so good. It's
Yeah.
because when one boat rises, all boats rise.
Very excited for this. And Seattle local G. Willow Wilson, who, if you haven't read her run of Miss Marvel, please check it out. It's one of the best comic books ever.
Nice.
So.
Oh, speaking
That's
of like
exciting.
stuff that's exciting going on, Isabella, you got some very exciting news about tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. So if you guys don't know, I know that I'm like brand new to this, but I love movies, particularly horror movies. And this is my month. And we're kicking it off with a screening of Edward Scissorhands. We were talking earlier off screen about good Halloween movies to watch that are not spooky, movies that are not so scary. And Edward Scissorhands, I think really I would watch Edward Scissorhands kind of like in between Halloween and Christmas. It's kind of more of it has a wintry vibe to it as well. But with the Mopop, I'm hosting a screening of that and also a talk back. And so if you're interested in that, check out the Mopop's page. It's part of their Grown Up series about movies that talk about adolescence. And I don't think there's any movie that's a better representative of being a weird teenager and feeling awkward in the body than Edward Scissorhands, which is a movie about being a weird, awkward, like literally and figuratively being a weird, awkward teenager. And so I'm very excited about that. And that's tomorrow at 4:00 Pacific Standard Time. So please join.
That's awesome. Me and my partner
Very
are looking for like stuff that we can actually do, and I haven't seen Edward Scissorhands, so that sounds like super fun.
You've never seen Edward Scissorhands before?
It looks scary. I don't like scary
No,
things.
it's so good. It's so good. It's a
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic. You'll love it.
I just
it's
feel
not
bad
scary.
for the guy.
I mean, it is a little sad. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely
Okay.
a little sad.
I think I can handle that.
Okay.
Yeah, no. On other just related news, if you guys are wondering, we're going to probably today's table takes is actually going to be quite exciting and quite different, or not quite different. We're going to go ahead and do our regular news, but we want to go ahead and let more time like be there for because we have a special one-on-one with the creators of Into the Motherlands, and so this is going to be, if it seems like it's a weird episode and we're taking out some things, it's only because we want to give more time to, of course, Tanya and Gabe to tell us about their game that they made. So let's go ahead with that, jump right into headlines today. And we have Isabella. Do you know about these spooky, scary, creepy spider things that are coming in? What is this all about?
So Ancient Undead Spider is a vinyl EP sleeved in a playable tabletop RPG adventure. Now let me break this down for you, okay? I was really excited about this because I'm a total hipster and I love vinyl.
Same.
I'll admit that. I still buy vinyl records. And the idea of like, we talked about this before, but the idea of like incorporating a soundtrack or a vinyl record together with a game is really, really cool to me, and a really kind of more immersive way of going through a game, I think. And this one, you buy the vinyl and it has like the game that's like incorporated into the vinyl. So you're like playing with it. It has musical instrumentation that accompanies as you're going through the dungeon, and you're playing like with the record, which is like, it's 10 rooms, it's a dungeon crawl. I think it's such a cool idea. This reminds me of a game that I used to play when I was a kid, of whose name I cannot remember right now. Oh my God.
Atmosphere? Is it the one in the video cassette?
No, it's not called Atmosphere, but it was a video cassette that you put in, and it was a guy and he was like the Grim Reaper and you were trying to escape death.
Oh, that sounds cool though.
I can't remember it. Oh my goodness. I'm
You're
sorry.
gonna wake up in the middle of the night.
We'll tell us what it is later.
If somebody remembers this in the chat, please let me know. But it was
chat, please.
It was really cool. You put it in, and you just had a game, and you're playing with the guy, and so the guy is like talking to you and being like, "You'll never escape this," and it's so I love that kind of like immersive kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this one is where can you get this, you guys? Sorry, I lost it. It's a
on
Kickstarter. And it launched yesterday, and so you can go and you can check out the Kickstarter and listen to the music because it slaps.
Yep.
Very, very moody.
Yeah, no, it just bringing more atmosphere. I've been times where I've like debated whether or not to buy these like Scentsy smells that are supposed to be like bar room in tavern or glass, like grassy knoll, and music just adding on to your role playing experience is just you gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now next on the news is Twilight Imperium and the board games Twilight Imperium and Android are getting a graphic novel. So this is just exciting news if you're very much a fan of these like space and very punk, like both of these. Twilight Imperium is like, you know, very like, hey, the world is coming, alien space adventure, and also Android is a cyberpunk Netrunner kind of esque theme. Like will be released as graphic novels on Kickstarter next year. But like Simon is Simon who developed Zombicide and Cthulhu, Death May Die into comic books. It's just like, it seems it's very interesting because we already know these board games and we fell in love with the world that it is. And just like to really get into it and see more of the lore and the background of it, I just find very, very exciting. And also they're going to will contain the comics themselves will contain tie-in game components that can be used in the original board game. So I'm thinking theories might be dice, might be figurines, or might be something that like promo cards or minis. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I hope it's minis. Those will work really well for the games that they already have. I mean, I heard about the Zombicide graphic novel. If they had put minis in that one, it would just add to like the hundreds of thousands of minis that already come with that game.
There are many minis.
But yeah, no, so that's something if you guys are a fan of those two particular board games. It looks like, Derek's saying I'm excited more about the Android content than anything because you got to see it's probably going to be amazing artwork, and just be excited to about it coming soon next year on Kickstarter. And then on other classic things coming back and people getting licensing for, what is that all about, Isabella?
So Renegade Game Studios announced that they've expanded their partnership with Hasbro and they have acquired the licenses for G.I. Joe, Transformers, and the most exciting one, My Little Pony. The idea of being able to do role-playing and deck-building games with My Little Pony also slaps, you guys. Even though I feel like this is nostalgia bait, you know, there's a very clear kind of like 80s nostalgic generation that I feel like they're trying to tap into. This is very interesting. This is totally in line with Hasbro's sort of expanding of the IP, of them trying to get more into classic 80s, 90s games. It feels like they're also being like, let's also acquire some 80s, 90s IP for all you, what do they call millennials that don't have kids? Double income dwinks. Yes.
What? What?
I heard that too. God, I am dumb right now. Oh God.
Wait, you've never heard of this before?
I just know that people hate us at Disneyland.
Double income, no kids. I don't
double
know
income, no. Yeah, double income, no kids.
Yeah.
Dinks. Yes.
Dinks. Okay.
That's what they call millennials who are just like, you guys have no kids, but you're out here at Disneyland. Disneyland is supposed to be for mothers with children. Don't you guys know that?
No, I want to go in the Star Wars.
Okay.
You have to suffer if you're at Disneyland.
Make a stuffed Baby Yoda or whatever they do these days.
I can see it.
And so they've already done something like this with the Power Rangers line, which is, what is it? It's like a role-playing game and then a deck building game as well. And so they're going to start rolling these out in, it looks like 2021 is when these games will start hitting the shelves. And so, yeah, it sounds really exciting. The idea of a My Little Pony role-playing game, actually, but it has to be the classic My Little Pony. It can't be the new. I don't do the new Little I want the chunky, chunky ones.
The chunky ones.
When they're chunky, and the ones where you can scratch their butts and it smells like different stuff. You remember that? You don't remember
never
that?
heard that one.
In the classic
I know you could sniff their hair and it would smell like a different color, but like
you guys do remember they had little scent things on their butts and you could scratch it and it was like, strawberries. Whatever.
I mean, to be fair, in that like whole like time zone, a lot of like toys were like sniff everything, scratch and sniff markers and make your brain die.
It sounds weird, but we had these things.
We had these.
Okay.
Old people coming up with weird stuff.
I believe it.
Renegade Game Studios is great though. They have great designers. They have everyone there knows what they're doing. So if anyone can do justice to these IPs, then it's Renegade Game Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds exciting, and we'll have to look forward to seeing what the figurines and everything are going to look like. How is it going to play, and whether or not you're going to have to put have a little tattoo. You get little like print on star tattoos that you can put on your face to tell you which pony you are, because that's the most important thing. Cool. Well, coming now we got. Hey, do you guys want small little RPGs that are just concentrated awesomeness of awesomeness? Javion, tell us about all of it.
Sure. Well, when you're a woman on the go like me, you don't have time to lug around hundreds of different RPG books and then pitch them to all of your friends who you play RPGs with. I know personally, I like playing new RPGs. So this is the ultimate micro RPG book made by James D'Amato. It is 40 different, well, not just James D'Amato, it's 40 different games by a lot of different people who make a lot of RPGs. And the cool part about it is that it's a book that you can literally just tear RPGs out of them and then like pop them on the table, and there you go, you got a new RPG. It comes with a lot of really interesting different ones. There's no like set theme. They're all either really serious, really thematic, or really silly. I think there's one where you get to be dogs. There's another one where you fly into space. Obviously, there's got to be that one, right? And I I had a story I wanted to tell.
Go ahead, tell it. We're listening.
So micro RPGs can be really fun because you get a lot of different experiences that you can't get in other games. Like one of my favorite micro RPGs is Tiny D6, and I think that's one of the different systems that you can play in this book. Tiny D6 is literally you just like say you want to do something and you roll a d6 or extra d6s if you are really good at it. Every time you fail, you get to roll extra d6s. So it's really cool. You're chucking lots and lots of dice. I was playing a goblin game. We're all goblins. I was a goblin named Ja Rule, who was into taking lots of selfies and feet. And I got the mayor to take his shoes off. And that was like the big accomplishment for the game. It was probably the biggest achievement in all of my gaming career, so I'm pretty happy about it, and I'll never forget
that's
it.
the biggest achievement.
in games, that's big. No, that's. Have you ever gotten the mayor to take off his shoes? I'm just saying.
People are more. People are more cautious now in the internet. They don't just let you take a picture of their feet without shoes anymore.
Right?
Okay?
Yeah,
that's true.
It was a hard-fought battle.
There's a whole Wikipedia just dedicated to celebrity feet. So
yeah, so it's really fun. Check out the ultimate mini RPG book.
But yeah, no, that's good. And plus, for those people who are kind of scared to like break away from 5th edition, we would like, hey, micro RPGs, something that you could do, easy breakaway, something easy. It's literally on a page, and wham, bam, poo, you can have fun. You know what? I feel like we did talk about that before, or was it the day before? Or, I just feel like days just keep repeating on themselves. Emma, what do you think days just keep going on and on, especially in this time period,
Yeah,
it's
it's almost like we're stuck in a time loop or something.
Yeah.
Just like as if we were to watch Groundhog Day or say play Groundhog Day the game.
Oh.
So cool.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine that if we played Groundhog Day the game, and if we announced it Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
The game.
Man, I feel like deja vu. What would be?
Wait, but it's not Groundhog Day. Didn't that already pass?
It's like February.
No, it's still, remember, we are so stuck in a time loop. This is real. This is happening to us.
Actually, that's really fair. The last time I did have a normal life was February, so maybe we are.
We are stuck in a time.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so yeah, of course, this is based on the movie, which is great. I love it, by Harold Ramis and Bill Murray. It's 2 to 6 players working together to help the main character, Phil, of course, escape the endless 24-hour loop he's trapped in. If you haven't seen the movie, first off, just go watch it because it's great. And second off, he is a terrible person and wakes up at 6 a.m. He has to keep reliving the same day over and over. Things transpire almost exactly as you would expect. And of course, it ends up being happy and heartwarming and funny along the way. So each round of the game is 1 day, with the end goal being to use all the skills Phil has learned each day, which is something that he does in the movie. Players can't communicate. There's no set rounds. So it's up to each player to gauge when is the best time to help each other out with cards. Rounds are set using an hourglass or an app. This is designed by Funko Games and set to release next year. We don't have a ton of details about it yet, but I actually play tested an early form of this when I was playtesting games, workshopping games for Funko Games / Force Brazan, Prospero Hall, and it was fun. There's definitely a tricky mechanical design challenge to capturing repeating the days with the cards in your hand and making it still feel fun and fresh every time that you go through the loop again. Time travel is such an interesting mechanic in board games. There's a few that have done it, a few that have done it well. So I'm excited about this one.
It looks
really
good.
This is like the oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
This is like the last thing I would have thought would have been adapted into a game. And but it's so interesting to do that mechanic of like you're stuck in a loop, of course, but like I don't know, this to me, I'm just like Groundhog Day into a game, but it totally works. Yeah.
And their IP thing is so interesting. The kinds of IPs they dug up. They did the Choose Your Own Adventure actual IP board game, the Brady Bunch game, the Home Alone game. So they've definitely worked with some unexpected IPs. But this one,
Golden Girls also included in that, or is that
different?
The Golden Girls in Funkoverse.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Funkoverse.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, that counts.
Okay.
Yeah. So the app with the polka music too. So I wonder if they actually got that song that plays on the radio every morning, or how exactly that works.
You don't remember the name of the song, do you?
Right?
Did it have a name? I
Most songs do. They have an artist, an album.
Details. Yeah, look for that next year.
All these very cool and exciting things. So yeah, that was basically all we really all the very significant news that we wanted to go ahead and share with you guys. All you folks out there today.
Talk about the one other thing.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, we have one more thing. Hey, that brings back a nostalgia. You know what was also really popular in the 80s? Figurines.
Oh,
kind of
they're gonna say something else.
Yes.
What, Javion? What do you?
I thought you were gonna say disco, right?
The 80s? No, that's no.
That's not 80s?
No, darling.
Disco 70s, right? No.
Wait.
60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Got it. I wasn't alive then, so.
Yeah. Javion is our precious boy.
Please, Javion.
I thought
so
you were
much
gonna
in
say
them.
something else like the 80s, cocaine, Reaganomics.
No.
That was real hot
What's
back in there.
cocaine? Is that like is that a
Trickle down
plant?
economics. Yep.
Economics.
Is that a dance?
It's a dance, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Emma, what were you talking about?
Anyway,
figurines.
very popular in the 80s, action figurines. Hasbro Pulse announces exclusive Drizzt and Guenhwyvar action figure pre-order. So I read the first Drizzt book. I'm not super into it. My husband has read every single book. He actually just finished the latest one that came out, so he's into it. But he has regaled me with some of the adventures of Drizzt. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But the real hero here, obviously, is Guenhwyvar, who is the awesome, kick-ass, interdimensional Black Panther, who's on the one hand just a awesome cat that beats up all the bad guys, but also has this crazy like interdimensional existence and this like meta level, kind of like Gandalf, really, just kind of comes and goes, does her own thing, like living her whole own existence. And she's a cat, and it's really great, and you should check it out because there's an action figure, and Drizzt has, I'm like, I never really played with action figures, so I'm like having my excitement about it now because Drizzt has like sweet swords and they go into scabbards, which is cool, and all these like accessories. And there's a dice, so the dice is like pretty cool too. So I was excited. I wasn't originally excited, but I came over to the excited side because there's actually some cool stuff that's going on there. If you love Drizzt, you'll like it. Even if you don't, there's a cool cat.
Yeah, but keep a note, there's only 2 per customer. They put it as big bold letters. Only can get 2. No more.
I just got to say for chat, I'm sorry. It's if Emma pronounced Guenhwyvar wrong, it's completely my fault because I completely gaslit her on that one.
You told us the wrong information. It's all your fault, Javion.
Whatever. Yeah, it's got like 15 letters in there, so there's really no right way to pronounce it.
Oh, yes. But with that was our major news lines here for us today. But guess what? Now we're going to go ahead and start the Kickstarter court. And hear ye in session. Javion, please bring forth your first Kickstarter to the court, please.
Guillotine is a new game that's on Kickstarter. It's a spooky card game. If you like blackjack or like 21, it's a push your luck game. It's a card game where everybody takes turns placing a card down. If you haven't been knocked out of the round, you get to play the action on the card. And I have confirmed that it is pronounced guillotine, not guillotine. We've got a lot of fun pronunciation games to play today.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really cool. It's very, very short. It's literally just cards, and I don't even think it has like any tokens or anything like that. Oh yeah, there's like a score tracker with some tokens to keep track of like if you've hit 13 or not, or if like people have like gotten points for like winning or losing and that kind of thing. So yeah, you can get eliminated if you hit 13 or more on a card that you're playing, and you only get 3 cards at the start of every round. So you get really short rounds where you get to play a lot of times, and you get to like play through a lot of iterations of it. I like the art. I immediately thought that it was sort of just like a knockoff of a Guillotine, the actual card game that already exists, but it's not. Guillotine is a game where you already have the cards laid out, and you're playing cards to rearrange them so that you don't get knocked out. This game has like more like of a blackjack kind of feel to it, like on last man standing in the hill kind of thing. It looks really cool. It's only like 10 to 30 minutes, and it plays up to 10 players, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and the art is really cute.
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, I'm not like a spooky kind of person. I don't really like Halloween's probably my least favorite holiday. Sorry, Isabella. Because I get scared super easy. I don't watch horror movies. Like, it's okay. We're both hipsters, so we've got that in common, right?
Wow, Halloween is the best holiday. And normally I would say I would fight you on this, but I don't want to fight you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You would probably win anyway, so I'm glad you're not fighting me.
But by the end of this, I'm going to convert you into a Halloween, at least maybe not loving Halloween, but I guess I'll try to get you to appreciate it more.
Awesome. I'm totally fine with that. Yeah, like Guillotine is one of the games of many games that looks like interesting enough to me that I would totally play it. I backed it. I actually have a confession to make. I backed all of the Kickstarter games that I'm going to talk about today. So if you hear me talking about a game, just know that I'm actually going to like play it soon. So
Yeah, you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Right?
Yeah,
That's very
exactly.
honorable.
I have a system. If you back a lot of Kickstarters, they'll trickle in over time, so you can always be excited about something.
I like it.
Right?
It's a good
Slow,
It's
steady
all year
stream of dopamine.
Yeah, it's like
Mm.
pre-ordering
you.
like video games and stuff. It's like a steady trickle of fun.
No, really cool. And how many days does that have left?
6 days. You got till Thursday.
Then Isabella.
Will you see through the glitzy and glamorous charade or fall prey to Hecna's everlasting torment? That's the question posed for the new carnival horror campaign called Hecna. I think I'm pronouncing that right. This is a 5th edition D&D game, and it's carnival horror. Javian, I know that we just talked about you don't like spooky stuff. But I think this is a really interesting sort of thing if you're trying to get more into like horror games, which is, you know, kind of also one of the things that I'm really passionate about. And I love a good horror game. This one the art looks really incredible. It also reminds me of another Halloween movie that I would recommend that's not so spooky, but is a little spooky. A movie called Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is based off of a book. It was a movie from the disco era, also known as the 80s. And it's a Disney movie. And it was kind of like a little bit too dark for Disney, but like if you watch it now, it's a really cool movie. Anyway, so this is a 5th edition, and you can there's like so much stuff. This has 6 days left, and I really like the art of it. Well,
I will say this. I know I said I don't like spooky stuff, but I'm a really good DM. So when I have to like turn the switch, I absolutely will. I just ran a haunted house, and in fact, actually, I'm running a campaign where my players can jump into a person, a little tiny person, like has like it's like a person made out of curtains, so they could just pull the curtains aside, jump inside, and it's a carnival inside. But they left him alone for a very long time. So I'm thinking, oh, while you were gone, hey, by the way, it's now an evil demon carnival. So you have to save Fatso.
Nice.
The carnival ringleader. This would be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you get character sheets, DM screen, and it has all the kind of elements so that you can jump right in, set up the campaign. If you're not as good as GMing, I'm not that confident of a GM, but I definitely would do something like this because it looks like a game where you can just torture your friends for several hours, and that's always a good idea for me. So yeah, this one, Hecna's carnival horror. The art looks really incredible. It's very spooky. If you don't like clowns, if you don't like carnivals, then maybe avoid this one. But if you like terrorizing your friends for fun and maybe not profit, but yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna back this one immediately. I'm gonna take Javion's advice and back this one.
Ooh,
Go for
nice.
it. It's super fun.
Do it. And then again, back to Javion.
All right. So it looks like Monty Cook is throwing out a new RPG for his Cypher system using the Diamond Throne campaign setting. So it's Monty Cook's Diamond Throne RPG. So the Cypher system for people who don't know, is a more narrative-driven fantasy RPG system, which I thought was really cool when I looked at it. It's got a whole lot of like character races and a ton of like background and lore to dig into. So you have so much like rich, like a tapestry to like work with to put your characters into. There's a whole lot of stretch goals for it already. They hit their stretch goals or their actual pledge goal 5 times over already and still counting. There's still 5 days left on it if you want to check it out. But Monty Cook has already done a lot of work with 3rd edition and then went off to do a lot of other stuff on his own with the Cypher system. I really like the art for this. It's very, very like sophisticated, real, like sort of like realism kind of look to it while still being, you know, art on a book. It also comes like if you back it, it comes with 2 core books and I think a 3rd if you want to like pledge a little bit more. That comes with the Cypher system rules already contained inside it, so you don't have to buy the Cypher system rule books by themselves. It comes in this game. In fact, if you're going to get the Cypher system stuff anyway, you might as well just get this. You already have a bunch of material to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of the stretch goals, I mean, they've upgraded the books so many times for like this campaign that's been going on for a little while, and it's finally coming to an end soon.
Nice.
Cool.
Very,
Yeah,
very
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you want to try like a new RPG system. It's definitely something really well suited to a longer campaign if you want to try something like that for your group.
Very, very cool. All right, with 7 days left, Friday, October 9th. Hey, do you guys like gaming and also really like very well crafted tables? Well, ta-da! I have the Kickstarter for you. The Wormwood modular gaming table and coffee and dining models. So, like, as you've seen at many conventions, Wormwood has a lot of very quality, like quality tables, and you can see them when when we ever can go back to conventions again. They're just really beautiful, very like handcrafted, yet this one's more revolutionary because it's a little bit more affordable, and it has a lot of magnet accessories. I just like think about it, crafted without compromise. So they already, unlike their earlier gaming tables, these coffee and dining tables are designed meant to be served as normal furniture with the secondary function as gaming tables, versus like before it's like this is straight for gaming, nothing else. So this one has in mind of this can be transformed, you can slide on like tabletops, you have magnetic areas and slots to put like cup coasters and dice trays. It's just really beautiful from a woodworker's perspective. I always like going over and just like messing around and fiddling with like what they have there, because I'm like, oh, I see how you made these and such. So it's just from a woodworker nerding perspective, and also trying to take like some of these ideas, implement them for my own gaming table. It's just very high level, especially because I know not everybody has the tools to do something like this, and it's just good to support crafters in general. So yeah, they're more of their exciting add-ons that you can put on here is charging pads, like player desks, all the stuff like to make the ultimate gaming table for you and your friends to hang out. So if you're interested, just go ahead and check that out. It has 7 days left. Wormwood modular gaming table, coffee and dining models. So
it does have your stamp of approval.
It does. They do
course.
very good quality. They haven't yet let me try to take a sledgehammer to it to see. But I feel like if I were to jump on these tables, it could at least handle about 200 pounds of weight jumping up and down on them. So,
Yeah, this is one of the main reasons that Phil and I want to get a house. I mean, just having a house is a nice place to live, but we don't actually have any table. We have a coffee table. We don't have a dining table. We don't have space in our apartment. So a gaming table, it's like going to be our first purchase someday when we finally can get a house.
Ooh, but yeah, this one can be also a
Yeah.
gaming table. But yeah.
I know I'd come over.
Yeah, be invited. We'd all be
Invited or not. Yeah.
No.
Well, when it is
You would be
allowed,
the
I will
first
have
one
a
to test it
gaming.
out.
There you go. I will invite people over when we are allowed to, and the world isn't covered in. Wash your hands and cover your mask, please. So, lead on. Isabella, you have more games to discuss as well.
Yeah, speaking of the world being covered in muck and feeling as though we're living in the end times, there's a new game that's coming out from an indie Japanese publisher, and it's all about trying to guess to see how the world is going to end. We know the world's going to end. We know that that's inevitable and it's happening and it's upon us. But can you guess how the world is going to end? In this new game called Dangerous. So this game is really interesting to me. It's a card game, and in it you get different kinds of tokens, tiles, player instructions. The art is also made by a really cool Japanese illustrator. I think his name is pronounced Kentoo, Kentoo. And his art it slaps. It's very cool, and I recognize it almost immediately. They didn't put it in the Kickstarter, which they really should, because Kintu is like a really cool illustrator. And in the game, you're trying to figure out how the world is ending. It's kind of a straightforward card game, and made by the people at Raw Potions Publishing, who took the game originally, which was published from 2018 by a group called Otokomai Games, which is a family-owned and operated company in Japan. And they took it, they developed it, and translated it as a 2 to 4 player game. And I believe you have 7 days left until Friday to back this project. It looks really cool. I mean, it's very on the nose, but also it looks very cool.
Cool.
Yes.
Looks like a really cool concept.
It does. Yeah. I like the art. It's just very pop art.
Yeah.
And then Javion.
Hi. Automated Alice is a game on Kickstarter. It's got 6 days to go, and I think it just like today hit their pledge goal. So I'm super excited, because I was starting to worry if they were going to hit it or not. It is a dice game about Alice in Wonderland. It is a dice placement game where you place the dice and what dice numbers you roll actually matters. It looks really cute. It's got like very cartoonish style to it. And you're constantly trying to solve murder mysteries. So there's a bunch of different like crime scenes going on all over the town, a Wonderland. And you're placing dice in different areas. You get special abilities if you can fill up a whole section. And what you're doing is you're racing against a certain number of turns of rounds before you basically just lose the game. There's also a little miniature of like the snake lady who blocks you on different areas. I thought it was going to be the Queen of Hearts. I was completely wrong. I haven't read through the Looking Glass, so maybe it's the character from that. But the snake lady is like sort of keeping you from solving all the crimes in this like fantasy Wonderland kind of place. I backed it not just because it has like really cool mechanics and really good art, because it has over 50 dice. And I know that if I ever get bored with the game, I will just repurpose the very colorful dice that it comes with. So
they are good dice.
Yeah, it's a really quick game. I think it's only like 20 to 30 minutes, like max. It's very cute, and it's cooperative, and I love co-op dice games. Getting to like manipulate fate, sort of like control where like and direct where dice are going to go. That's my favorite part about dice.
Nice.
Cool. Very nice. And then Isabella, speaking of dice, you got stuff about dice, don't you?
Do you guys remember Chick Tracks at all? No one remembers. Okay, all right.
No.
So
I don't think so.
Back in the old days, there was a man who would released these little tiny comics, and they were called Chick Tracts, and they were Christian comics, and they were all about not doing things that caused you to go to heck, things like dancing, things like rock and roll music, things, evil things like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, so evil.
You've heard of this. But Chick Tracts was a huge thing if you grew up like I did in the South in the religious Bible Belt. And they were these little comic books that were just given out for free to try to dissuade children from doing evil, harmful, devilish things like playing Dungeons and Dragons, which in the 80s was an evil, horrific, satanic thing. And we lived through this horrific time period called the Satanic Panic, which is something that one of these days I'll tell you kids about, how great that was to live through a time period where literally, Pyewacket has been left, she escaped out of baby jail. I see her. I'm sorry, you guys.
What?
Very thematic.
She made a break for it. So this game is a micro RPG in the style of a Chick Tract, where it's a pocket-sized RPG rule set, and it has the aesthetics of the. If you lived through this time period, I feel for you so badly. There really was a time period where, like, because I remember when I first started playing D&D, and my parents made me go to therapy because they thought that something that I was. Yeah, there was a time period in American culture where if you played Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, then people were like, oh, this child is like, has demons and is going to like kill someone in the woods. And so I'll talk to you guys about this later, but but it's in the style of that same sort of a thing. It's really cool to me. I think this is a really interesting sort of a thing to reference because of the fact that this was such a huge monumental time period in the tabletop gaming thing, which I think only made tabletop gaming more interesting. If you're going to tell a bunch of teenagers and a bunch of kids, don't do this, it'll lead you to sacrifice people and become a Satanist. You know the kids are going to want to do it. So,
woo, Satanism.
I know it sounds silly now, but like it really was like a huge thing back in the old days. So this is a PDF. You can get a digital copy or you can get a little pocket size format, and you can just kind of like spread them out. It's really affordable, so you can just sort of hand them out to the kids. I just love the idea of leaning into the illicitness of how dangerous it was back in the day to play TTRPGs. So yeah.
My dad wouldn't let me play D&D with my friends, not because he thought about like Satanism, like demonism or anything like that. That's what my mom thought. My dad thought that I was just going to turn into like a huge nerd who couldn't like function in like real life without referencing like medieval times and like saying hark and twas.
Wait, so
all day long.
Your parents were like, we'd rather you be a Satanist than be a nerd.
Well, my dad, I guess, was. Sure. I didn't really care.
All right. And then Javion with our last Kickstarter of the day.
All right. So Perthro, I learned how to say that by watching the video. Perthro is a Norse mythology, Viking-inspired dice game. It's a 2-player game. It's super fast. It's like 5 to 10 minutes per game. You grab a bunch of dice, you roll them, and you use special abilities to try to lock your dice in. So you'll be rolling fewer and fewer dice as the game progresses. You're attacking your opponent's dice, you're re-rolling dice, and there's a dice tray. The whole game comes in this little pouch that you can play pretty much anywhere. I love it. I love little games like this. Like all the games I was talking about today are little games, except for the Money Cook RPG. Little games that you can just take anywhere, really easily pick up and play. It's a really, really easy game to teach. You're literally just looking for pairs or 3 of a kind, or you have to know what like the special like icons do. But I love that the production value on the video that they made to introduce this game is so detailed, and they go all out on like their costumes and like the set design. I just like it when people put a lot of effort into a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to try this game, it's already free to play on Tabletopia. I've tried it out and I think it's super fun, and I think you guys will too if you want like something really quick and simple.
Very, very cool. All right. Thank you guys for sharing your Kickstarters right now. But chat, hey, guess what? We're going to just take a short break. We'll be back in a few minutes with, of course, the creators of Into the Motherlands. We're going to be joined by Tanya DePass and Gabe James to talk about their brand new role-playing game and actually, just get into the cool details. We're very excited, and I know you are too. So just hang on tight and let's go ahead and just soothingly, relaxingly go into a break. So we'll see you in a few minutes, folks. Welcome back, everyone. And as you notice, we have two awesome new guests here to tell us about Into the Motherland. And, just it's our time to geek out about it. And so if you don't know them, let's go ahead and introduce them. Tanya DePass, do you want to say what is all of your glorious achievements that you have?
God. It's weird because I have the whole Midwestern thing of it feels like I'm bragging on myself, but this is what I've done. So creative director of Into the Motherlands. Also, I am the producer for Rivals of Waterdeep and season 8 starting next weekend, not this weekend. I will be DMing for the first time for a season. Partnered Twitch broadcaster, RPG developer, diversity consultant, run a not-for-profit. I basically do a lot of things and don't sleep much.
Yeah, it seems right. I mean, if you got things to do, you're busy. So, and then we also have Gabe Hicks. Gabe, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, I'm Gabe. I am a cosplayer, voice actor, game designer for digital and tabletop. I do video design. I am working on a goblin dating simulator currently. I stay pretty busy too.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you both for joining us here and talking about Into the Motherland. I just wanted to the big notable thing that if you guys do not recognize in the RPG or gaming universe, at least role-playing universe, is that a lot of times we have not very many people of representation throughout various different cultures and stuff, and so a lot of times that gets generic term whitewashed. And so I want to hear more about this because the Into the Motherlands is special because it is a all POC cast. Is that correct?
Cast and development team.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that process and getting in from everybody's various different cultural backgrounds and such?
Sure. Gabe, do you want to start? Because I get to talk a lot about this, so I want you to get some spotlight.
I appreciate it. So when I first talked to Tanya about it, the concept alone was exciting because if you're just talking of the different types of Black people that exist, there are so many different cultures. When you look at Africa, when you look at African Americans, when you look at Black people who have come from all different types of places, there is so many different aspects of culture and history along with that. And then as we come to modern day, there's an African American experience that is both very similar and very different depending on where you lived in the United States. So getting to work with an all POC cast of not just Black people, but people of color who all have different religious and cultural backgrounds. We all had something interesting to bring to the table, and we would present an idea, and then someone else might be like, well, from my culture, my history, or my experience, I know that this might be an interesting thing. Do you want to do that? I never would have thought of that. I didn't have that process. So working with Tanya and the others was just fantastic because I'm raised East Coast. My mother is from Tennessee. I have a lot of family from the South, and there's a lot of cultural representation and stuff that comes into that. So getting to work with people from the West Coast, people who have more of a stronger African background of recent family, it's been irreplaceable. And I've learned things I never expected, and then seeing them become parts of a game for other people to experience is amazing.
I think that's really the idea of focusing on the diaspora of Black experiences, I think is really important. And because normally whenever you have like an RPG, it's like there's two kinds of Black representation that happens. It's like either it's like urban, everybody does the hip hop, we all do the dancing, or it's like Africa, the wilds, we're all in huts, we all have bones through our noses. And it's like there's only two kind of representations in a lot of games, which is like, you know, I understand that like they're trying, but at the same time, it does not represent the diaspora of Black experiences. And even the Black people that are here in this chat, we all probably have vastly different experiences. As being, was there any sort of like pressure to represent every single kind of group, or were you just trying to do like as much as you possibly could with the team?
We were trying to build a new world, first of all. So it wasn't like we got to cram every kind of Black person in this story. It's, here are people that are descendants of Mansa Musa, which, you know, I freely admit I had to go Google him when Dave and I were brainstorming, coming up with this concept. B. Dave Walters is going to join us later, because like I tangentially heard of him, but it's like, oh, how come we don't learn more about this dude in high school or in college history even? And, you know, the fact that I, as an adult, have to go Google who this person was and learn about him is kind of criminal to me, you know, just like with Hidden Figures and all the other stuff that we don't get to learn. Like, it's sad that I had to go see a movie to learn about the people who helped launch, you know, the space race in the US. Mm-hmm. So it was we have a chance to tell a story that is not based on our pain, our tragedy, that we didn't have a history of colonialism, that we didn't have a history of slavery that we had to get over. Because like you said, there's like always just certain kinds of Black people and brown people in these stories. It's not like, oh, well, we got through slavery and I guess we're going to be okay. But then there's always the one Black person who has to teach the white people to be people. And it's just like, come on, y'all. There's more to us than tragedy and pain and surviving colonialism and surviving, you know, what's the word? Generations of slavery.
And, you know, the other thing that I really hate in a lot of, I'm not gonna spend this time telling you guys what I hate about representation in tabletopping, but one of the things that I've always really found kind of egregious was this idea of using races as metaphors for Black people. So a lot of the times they'll be like, oh, there's like an enslaved orc group. And they all have dreads and they all are like coded as being Black people. And it's like, and they're being oppressed by the high elves who have great education. And it's just like, oh, this is just like metaphors for the Black experience. Was there any kind of like mentality going into this about things that you kind of wanted to fix or undo in the culture? Was there any sort of like approach to being like, this is what we'd like to add to the culture of tabletop? Like when you guys approach this idea, was there anything that you wanted to focus on?
I think that it was something that felt like we already knew it was going to be an easy conversation, because we knew we didn't want to have genocide, slavery, racism, any of that stuff that if you have to treat something as what could be a conflict at a table, we just don't need to include it. And in doing that, it was literally like, we can now build anything that we would have wanted this world to be, because we all had the understanding we don't want to create a world for people to play in that is focused specifically on tragedy, because you can have a world where there's conflict without conflict driven by racism, sexism, genocide, any of that. There can still be villains. There can still be stories to tell. And it was in unison of just, that's what we don't want to do. So what ideas do we want to do? And then it was just throwing out as many ideas. And then if we're like, I like that one, stick with that. Just churning it out and then on to the next thing and building as many ideas as we just had the time or like comfort to do, and seeing how it expanded and it's like we were making our own puzzle that we were creating the pieces to ourselves. So they would always fit together. We just had to decide how we wanted them to fit.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of it too is, when do we get to build our own stories? Most of the time when we are at RPGs or we get a seat at the table, we always have to slot ourselves into an existing lore, into an existing game. And as we all know, those games don't do a very good job of letting us exist in peace. That we always have the tragic backstory, we're not really human, or you have people, it's like, well, I want to be a Black character, but they're illiterate and they're an escaped slave. And I'm like, why? Why do you need this?
This
Like,
this was a game where it's not a question, are there Black people in space? Are there Black people in this planet? Do Black people exist in this universe? Yes. It's not not even having to ask the question.
Yeah.
Because, and sometimes when you're looking in a book, like for a game, you might have to look for the character that's a person of color.
Yeah.
Or I know that they're on page 274. And I know that exactly because I had to look through these pages and then I remembered what page it was on.
Right.
Right.
I was going to ask another question, which was how has, and I'm sorry to I have so many questions about this. I'm sorry.
You're just excited. You're excited.
I'm sorry. I'm excited. But I wanted to ask about Twitch's relationship with y'all as y'all were developing it. So one, I want to ask, how did Twitch come into this? How did they get involved with you guys? And then also how, were they just like, we're just going to leave it up to y'all do it, y'all are on your own? Or was there some sort of idea of hey, this is kind of the direction that we want to, there's been a lot of conversation with Twitch about their representation. Twitch has not always done so great with trying to get their representation, especially on the front page. That's been a conversation for a really long time. And so I'm very curious about their relationship with you guys.
So I've been in talks with Twitch about some projects, and to keep my NDA intact. I pitched some things, and and at first it was like, oh, there's plenty of fantasy. Like, we all know you can't throw a rock and not hit a fantasy show on Twitch at this point, be it D&D, be it Pathfinder, be it whatever. And so we're like, how about you tell your own story? And I was like, sure, why not? And I was like, and so I had all those same questions like, do I have to run who I decide to pick for this project by you? Do I have to get any kind of approvals? Or nope, here you go. This is your choice. Everyone contracts and does NDA through you. We provide funding and support, and this is your choice, your crew. Tell the story you want to tell.
Wow.
That's very, very cool. That's great that they just been like, hey, yeah, there you go. Boom. We trust you in your hands. And especially because you're ready to go in for a fight and then just have that relieving sensation of nah, you're good. You can pilot this ship however you're going to pilot it. From a different perspective, I wanted to ask, because you guys were talking about just the world building in general, and this is for Gabe. This is for you because you are you do cosplay and such like that. Is there any particular character designs and outfits that you were really just into, and you can totally see people costuming afterwards, just kind of getting into the actual physical world?
Yes. Okay. So there's a culture that we have of characters. Tanya, have we talked about the soul at all?
The what?
The Solansi?
No, but we can.
There's a group that are essentially descendants. And over time, they've evolved and their genetics have changed and they're more of a plant-like people. And I am so in love with that concept, specifically because when we think of Black people and Africans and the sun and having our bodies adapt and adjust with the darker skin to be able to handle and sunlight is not something that injures and harms our skin in the same speed. And then having the plant-like aspect added to it where that sunlight is feeding them, is resurging them, is giving them life and energy, and they can live off of that. And those two things combined together, it's like the ebony poison ivy that I want to see everywhere and anywhere. And just the different types of plants and flora entities that are going to come from that. I've already started planning out an idea for one myself, and it's going to take forever, but I'm hoping to have it done before the stream is ever over. I think that's going to be one that sticks out the most. Just because the concept and the idea, when people get to see it and see how it's interpreted and laid out, there's not any single description of how they look. One person may have a sunflower that's like literally settled in their chest. One person may have vines going all up and across their body. And then it's because there's so many different types of plants that exist. There's hundreds of different types of trees, and specifically again with African culture, how many types of plants do people know that exist in Africa, in the different biomes that exist in Africa? So then when we bring that into play and we outline it and start to describe some of it, seeing how people actually create these things, I am beyond excited.
That's so cool. That's
It
such
is.
a
It
cool
sounds
idea.
just like, yeah, that sounds, I'm like already like, yes, I like this idea of the plant culture. But yeah, Javion, Emma, do you have any questions that pop up in your mind about you're excited about, thinking about?
I did have one quick question actually. I noticed that there's just so many like RPGs out there. It gets really hard to sift through the ones that I really want to play. What would you guys say makes your game stand out from all the other ones?
I feel like you'll know it's written by people who have these experiences, and what, like, it's written from a perspective that you might relate to without realizing you do. Because I realized that reading through some of the other people's writing work. Like even when I was reading through Tanya's notes that she made on stuff, I'm like, she gets it. Like she knows where I'm coming from right then and there.
And we're using a different mechanical system. It's because one thing I want to steer clear of, and not a slight against D&D, because I'm a professional D&D player, is that we're not just making a sci-fi version of Black people in space. Or it's not just it's D&D but Black people and we're in space, because we're telling a whole new story, we're crafting a whole new world, and this is a little bit of a negative thing, but I kept seeing well, it's not D&D, but I guess I'll watch. It's like, as much as many of us like D&D, or however we feel about it, there's other games. And I'm sorry, a brand new game with people that, if you like what we do, cool. I'd be super stoked to watch something and eventually play something from all these people I get to watch on shows, read their writing. I'm like super excited to read Gabe's work on, Lost Omens and all this other stuff that we've all done. Everyone has the credentials. So all of our, experience combined is like, let's get away from calling everything RPG related D&D or D&D light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so excited.
The Afrofuturism, I don't know if you guys would classify this as being an Afrofuturist game, but I definitely, the idea behind Afrofuturism is like, it's our reimagining of the world. It's the Black reimagining, it's the Black context. It's placing things inside of this contextual world. It's not just being like, here's a Black person, we've taken them and we plugged them into this. It's like, how do we reframe things from our perspective, our histories, our future, our past? That to me, there's a new kind of Afrofuturist boom, I feel like, that happened particularly after Black Panther. And it just feels like there's music, TV, movies, games, like this feels like it's part of that. And I'm very, very excited for this.
Yeah, and we're intentionally calling it Afrofuturist and sci-fi, but what I've noticed is a lot of work by any Black author that wasn't rooted in the here and now or not fantasy was just automatically labeled Afrofuturism, which is like, no, we're being real intentional. Like, we the Black folks and the brown folks out in space, we're the aliens, even though I feel weird about aliens, because it's like the humans that landed there are actually the aliens, the people that belong there are not.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've been saying like indigenous to this planet.
I love that.
So like go ahead, Gabe.
But that's something that we also approached. We very intentionally, whenever we go into the introduction of the story, we intentionally avoided colonization. If people live somewhere, when they arrive somewhere, there's a conversation that actively happens with local residents as to where is a good place for people to reside, and it's avoiding this, like the genocide that's unnecessary. There is no colonization that is taking places from other people. It is cohabitation. That is a very core and key part of the introduction, story, and how this game works. I was very happy about that.
Yeah, I can tell.
No, yeah, just thinking from my own like cultural perspective, like, you know, yeah, I just basically it's great to like have that shared space versus just somebody going in and taking the land in which you were native of, and then you losing your language and culture and everything from that. But that's a whole other story. But for like, speaking of cultural and cultural changes, like this is your imaginary dream like thought in 10 years, like if everything goes right and this is just like like blows up insanely, you know, like what is your dream like for the future of this game? Like, you know, convention wise, like this is the dream part where everything is just like bam, you know. Like, how do you see this in 10 years? Is that too hard of a question? Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking, because I put it out there, you know, both from my own and from the Motherlands Twitters, that I want us to get to Critical Role levels of fan community. And, you know, and this isn't a slight on Critical Role, because both of us know people who are on the show and who run it. But I can't think of any Black and POC show that has that level of fandom. Rivals doesn't have that level of fandom. And if we can take something we built from the ground up and get it there, that would make me super happy, because we're all really, really amazing and talented. And I don't see why that can't be a thing. So the levels of hype stay the way they are now. And even a year, I feel like we should get to a point where we're having people want to go play this game. They want to do it at conventions. We are going to conventions, seeing cosplay. And not just, okay, we did our 12 weeks. Now people forgot this existed.
Yeah.
I want to see someone that is the me from 10 years ago see this and then feel like they can create more of the same things. Because I didn't get started in this field like in a essence that I felt like I was really doing things until maybe like a year ago, and largely because of Tanya, who I get the chance to work with now. But like getting the people who reminded me of myself to have those opportunities, and or just the reminder of like, oh my gosh, this game was made by all people who look like me. I you know what? Maybe I can make an Into the Motherlands like creature or idea or story or narrative, because once people get the tools to tell the stories of this game and this world, I'm excited to see the ones that they make.
Yeah.
And in the chat, there's people are asking for action figures, cosplay, Beetle and Grimm boxes, collector's cards, merchandise, and tattoos. I don't know if that's permanent or temporary, but
if this game goes as big as it is, I will get a tattoo with you.
Okay.
The idea of tattoos, but then the idea of also temporary tattoos, that would actually be kind of cool, like a line of temporary tattoos. But I agree, like I feel like one of the cons that I have for oh my goodness, and it just slipped my mind, for the show that we were just talking about, is that a lot of the major tabletop games, a lot of the major, the mainstream ones, I think they kind of reinforce this idea that tabletop is only for a certain kind of person. You know, I feel like growing up as like a weird Black kid, it was not cool to be into tabletopping. It was not, I was not getting the dates. Being into tabletop, it was not a cool thing. And there's kind of like always this idea that like it's for like white kids, you know, it's like a thing that suburban white kids do, or like middle-aged white dudes do. And that's always been my issue. And so I really hope that you guys can go to that level, because of the fact that I think it would do a lot for other weird Black kids that, you know, are playing games alone in their basement, like I did 15 years ago. So yeah, I think that would be really incredible.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I even remember coming into the project, looking at the team. It was a moment of like, I knew who everybody was, and I feel like that was both exciting, but then also shows these are the people that I knew that were all good at this. How many more people do I know that were all good at this that like I knew that were people of color?
Mhm.
Because it was like Tanya saying, giving the people the chance to tell their stories. And I knew all the people that she brought in. She picked a fantastic team. And then I'm like, I couldn't even consider who else she could have picked, which is both really exciting and then it made me wonder.
I mean, there were a lot of people that I reached out to because initially when I initially pitched like a bunch of shows and other stuff. So it's like, if I'm going to get to do this, if like they say yes and go, okay, you can have 2 shows, we need 2 shows worth of people and a crew.
Yeah.
And, it was like, okay, well, things have shifted. Here's the opportunity. And it was hard because not everybody was available. Not everybody could commit to basically what is going to be 3 months in a row, every Sunday, 3.5 hours to hit our requirements. And also just to like, Gabe and B. Dave Walters is going to join us. And everyone who's been writing on this has been amazing to work with, where we hop in the writer's room, we talk, and it's like I don't have to code switch. I don't have to put the mask on. And I've never had a work experience like that. Even when it's like, well, like because of something like this, like with Rivals, we all know each other, been friends for years, but that's still like we're sitting at a table, we're playing an established world, and then we're done. Versus we are creating this whole cloth, and then the people on the cast, excluding myself, what they're doing is gonna be canon. These characters are gonna be canon characters. So I've never been on a show where my character gets to be integrated literally into the game and the story.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, that's just really like having that like freedom and being able to like let go and let loose with this. Is there any like funny story between the like this creative process that you are wanting or allow to share during this? Like if you ever had like that crazy moment where you're 3 a.m. in the morning still working and then somebody just shouts out something and you're just like runs with it. Is there any moments like that?
Probably.
I know you're the night owl. I'm not.
Yeah,
I like
don't know.
sleep.
There's been plenty of times that I message you like late at night, like, "Hey Tanya, I had this idea. I put it in the thing. Let me know what you're seeing when you see it." And sometimes you'll respond, and I'm like, "Crap, wait, she's still awake. If she looks at it now, then I have to think more." And my brain's like already burnt out. But that I think that happened with. I think that's how that's one of the things that happened with the Solansi, the plant people.
Yeah.
I'm like, interesting. I like this idea. Interesting. All right, cool. Send. I'm like, "Hey Tanya, there's a thing. Let me know when you see it." And then like you responded, and I'm like, crap, no, I didn't expect her to look at it yet. And that it keeps happening. Or like I'll send something early in the morning and I'm like, okay, Tanya's like an hour behind me. She's not awake yet. Okay, well, I'll take a look. Oh crap, I expected more time to not think. But it's amazing that like pretty much every time I've messaged about something, you're there and you respond, because it makes communication really easy. If I'm working on something, I'm going to start working on this region. Yeah, cool. I love that. Oh, okay. Well, then I'll keep going. I expected like a couple of hours, but sure.
I'm always there, Gabe. I'm always there.
I guess that's the funny thing. Communication has been really good, which is like, it shouldn't be unexpected, but sometimes it is. And then it's like, you laugh because it's like, I didn't expect an answer until tomorrow. I had an answer 10 minutes ago. So while I'm still thinking about it, I can actually build this in a way I want it to.
Oh, very, very cool. Like I like that story that you guys have just such a like a mesh community already building in there. That's like strong foundation leads to a very strong tower, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have that with Dave, who is in the chat. I see you creeping. But like, because he's a night owl and I'm 2 hours behind him or no ahead of him, sometimes be like, I'll look at my clock, why are you awake? And it's like, did you ever go to sleep or are you up super early? So there are times where I'm just like, okay, our brains are in sync right now. Let's run with it.
Yeah. All right. But yes, so does anybody here have any final questions to ask before we actually hand it over to the proper interview versus us just going like, look at this, what do we have?
Just being super hype.
I have one more question, if I can. Another kind of topic that happens a lot when it's like RPG characters, tabletop characters that are Black is this kind of idea of being inside of the body of somebody who's like a different race, so sort of crossing races, and the kind of potential, I don't know, not abuse, but like the potential mistreatment of that character with going like transracially. Have you all thought at all about like how to deal with the treatment of your characters as Black characters by everybody of any different kind of background? Because
honestly, they're just Black. Like, it's as weird as that is, like, is to say, if your character is just a black character who is in this world, and then you have notes in the book about like the culture, that's it. There's no extra way you have to go to be that character. Your character can just be Black, and that's enough. It's the issue is because that hasn't been enough for so long.
Yeah, and it's not really funny, but I already got the question of, can I play this if I'm white? And I just sat there because Gabe was in chat with me. I think he was even on voice with me.
Yep.
It was like the day after we made the announcement and everything was kind of out in the open. And someone in the chat asked, can I play this if I'm white? And after I made a face, because I have no poker face, if I ever play cards with you, you're going to take all my money. And I was just, what kind of question is that? But also, I don't get, if I ask that question out of all the RPGs that I played over my many years of being alive, you would look at me and ask why it matters. So that's my question back to people. If this is a sci-fi world with aliens and humans that are transplanted out of time, etc., and there's all these things to discover and find in this world, why are you so focused on whether or not you as in this moment white person can play this? What are you planning to do?
They got us, Tanya. They found out that playing the game, it checks your webcam, scans you and everything.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, it was just like, it was a stupid question in the moment. It's a stupid question in general. So I actually wrote something about playing outside your culture and your experience, like to kind of start in the quick guide whenever it gets out in the world of, you will be okay. You can play this because you're playing make-believe. You step into this world, it's not real. So why are you trying to bring your inherent bias into a world where literally colonialism, racism, etc. does not exist? If you have to bring that into your role-playing experience so you can have realism or understand it, that's a you problem. And maybe you should think about playing RPGs in general.
I think I could see where somebody might be coming from in terms of like thinking, oh, okay, so these are POC designers, it's the POC cast. They're very passionate and vocal about the positive impact that they're having on the community and representation, and thinking, is this a Black game? And I think that's just a silly way to categorize games. Like, why would you typecast a game as something for a certain type of person?
But people do that with all media. If someone Black is involved, then especially if it's in the rare case it's an all Black crew, all POC crew, it gets shelved with, oh, it's Black History Month. Like, now it's Black History Month in the UK. It was here in February. We're going to put this out for Black History Month, and that's the only time we're going to see it. We may see it again for Women's History Month. And if we get a trifecta of Black, queer, and female presenting, then we can hit 3 months, and we've done our due diligence. But it's like, I can pick up media that is not made by people like me, because I've had to do it my whole life,
right,
and be okay with that. but you're not gonna like wake up black tomorrow if you play this game. And if you do, welcome to my reality.
That's actually a cool idea for a game, is that you pick up the game. It's like Jumanji, but instead you just wake up and you're just black and you have to live as like, it's like the game of life, but you have to play as a black person and it just takes you off every single time.
That'd be the shortest game ever.
Oh.
You just like, you pass go right to jail. That's the game.
I mean,
Oh God.
no, so funny thing, and then for real, we can wrap it up. I consulted on a game which, you know, prior to the election was like a what if scenario. And one of the options that didn't make it into the game was, as you're creating your character, if you picked a black character, it was a very short game, put it that way.
What?
And I was, yeah, I mean, it was there. It was an option. And I was like, and then when I played through it as a tester, once we were done writing, I was like, oh, and maybe in there, I just knew when I played it that was not the route I wanted to take, but it was like, this is making a very visceral point.
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
It hits you, especially if you don't expect it.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah.
But I think that can be a tool used to like help people with empathy. You know, I think that you can use these as empathy exercises. And so that's really interesting. I'd be interested to know off the record what that game was.
Oh, it's on my portfolio. It's not a.
Oh, okay,
not a
great.
secret.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Well, thank you on that note of empathy and trying to develop more empathy to people just around, because people are people no matter what. So on that note, thank you guys for just letting us bombard you with questions and about hashtag plant people for life and stuff. So we're going to go ahead. Those of you in chat, if you just stick around, we're just going to be transitioning really quick so you guys can, Tanya, of course, and Gabriel is going to be here along with a couple other folks that is joined, Dave, Dave. And also Derek is going to be joining us for more information, actually getting into the nit-gritty stuff about Into the Motherlands. And thank you so much for allowing us to ask you these questions, to get to know and laugh about like all the behind the scenes things. And then those of you in chat, just stick around for a few minutes and we're going to be transitioning over to the next segment of this interview. All right. Thank you, Emma, and then Javion, and of course, Isabella for that. And we will be seeing you off. Goodbye.
So long. Till next time.
Bye.